for your website and they'll make it run. So when they are making it run, what they'll ask you is, they'll ask you a separate crop of this logo button or menu bar or this portrait. So you have to give this particular crop to a web developer. Okay? You have to specify what is the distance between this in pixels, what is this from this, what is the font size used here, their hashtag, which is the color has been used for that font, what is the family, everything specifically you have to give it to a web developer, because they are not gonna take this and make a define an area and if you click that, it doesn't happen like that for a bigger website. You have to give these small crops to a web developer. So once you are clear with all, if you communicate everything right to a web developer, he'll build using his technology, which it can be anything, SharePoint or HTML5. Once that is done, then it will come back to you for a review. So you will check that, okay, I have if I click on menu button, it should go to maybe a home button. It should say, if I click on client, it should show me the client page. Because you have designed a client page as well. You will check if the alignments are fine, the font sizes are fine. Because it happens, like it goes through at least 4 to 5 review cycles. On the first go, it will never get clear, because even they have a lot to do with web development. So they miss on their font families, or they increase the font sizes, or they change the color altogether. So you have to keep on telling them that, Acha, do this, I want this specific color. Sometimes they say that no, that's not possible. You have to fight with them that make it possible. I don't care what you think, because ultimately client has to be happy. And client has agreed on your design. So if he see like, okay, design was this great, but after development it's suiting something else only. The fonts are not fine, alignment has mismatched, because we give a lot of importance to alignment, right? When we design for website, everything has to be on a straight line and all those things. So once that is done, web development is done, it will go to SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. Okay? In SEO, what they do is they try and change few content which has very generic keywords into it. Suppose if I type fashion, okay, on Google, it will open Myntra.com, because that fashion word has been used very repetitively in their website. So like that's what these guys do, search engine optimization. So they make sure that your website is always on top when you search on Google. That's a very important department which has come up. Accessibility experts. Now in US, they have made US and UK both. They have made a law that every website has to be accessible to every human being. Suppose if I can't see or I can't hear, I should be able to use that website as well. So there are compliances, AA compliance or AAA compliance, what we say. So they have some rules, such as in terms of color, if you see. So in colors, they have a rule that you get the color contrast between white and grey has to be 1:6. Okay. Suppose if my one color is white, another color, suppose I have a white color button. Okay. On top of, when I'm having a text, it has to be grey, which has a ratio of 1:6. Okay. It has to be more than half of a grey. Suppose if this is your grey scale, this is white, this is a bit grey, and this is black. So if this is the button, this color has to be your text. Okay, so that kind of a contrast they want in colors. So you have small tools to check the color contrast ratios as well. You got this? Or anything else you do? So it has to be dark enough for visually challenging guy to understand. Also, if I press tap on every button, there has to be a recording. Suppose if I tap, when I open my website, this is automatically selected, which is home. Okay? If I press tab, it will go to clients. So if I'm using earphones when I'm using the website, it should say that, okay, you are on client button. So that also has to be included. Then font typefaces, like we just said, in this stage, these are the things which are important. First wireframe, then we have to take care of font and typefaces according to the client requirement. Then we go vector and raster graphics. You know what is vector and raster graphics, right? Vector are what we create in maybe Illustrator or Flash, those are vectors. Vectors, they don't calculate the pixel value, so calculate the dot value. And raster graphics are basically all the images what we use. Brand guidelines, which is very important. Color dependencies if we have anything from color. Then technology constraints. If we are using maybe there are a lot of browsers, right? We have Internet Explorer, or we have maybe your Firefox, or we have Chrome. Every website don't really, if you see a particular website is working good in Chrome, it may not work fine in Internet Explorer. Why? Because they are not compatible to that particular. All the government websites, if you see, they run well on Internet Explorer. If you try using that same on the Firefox or something, they'll change the alignment of font will be something else. Those things happens. So it has to be compliant to all the browsers. It's very important. Yeah, this is also something which we have to take care. Timeline. You really have to work towards that. It has to be very well planned. But like, how many of you work on VFX and videos and all these things? So, what is your background? Like, where are you coming from? Gamification, games. So you will be mostly using it for your game UIs and all. So I said about wireframes, right? That's a wireframe which has been done by UX designer. Okay, this is an visual design. If you see, everything is just remain the same. This logo is here. Okay, that's a menu bar. Menu bar has been given here. Search box is here. So even you have some freedom. Suppose if you are not agree with a UX designer that okay, I am losing on this space, I want to use this space. Okay? That's your take. So you can talk to UX designer. Acha, is there any specific reason that why have you kept this empty? Can we change and make it so that I can have this portion bigger and take this here? If he agrees and if you have a valid reason not to have it or to have it, you can always change it. Like on this particular thing, it has been changed. You see the structure is same. Content wise or the buttons which have been kept on the design are same. They are there. But only thing is that the position has been changed. Right? This has moreover it's just exactly the replication of the wireframe to the actual design. Looks just the same. Anything? This is changed. This AstraZeneca is up. We have a left navigation, page, 3 portraits, and a content and a bad footer. Same for this website. Just replication. So you will get this, okay, from UX design. What you have to do is just understand what if you see the color of this particular font has been used in a website, okay, for the entire page. So that's how you make the client happy. So they are like, oh yes, that's my color. I like it. That's those kind of comments you will get. This is for an tablet or iPad. So we have changed this persona, which is a live action guy, to an animated guy. So he talks about what is going on in that website or in that video. Again the same thing. See, it's exactly replicated here. The only thing is that this is a reference of what you have to do. That's the final. That's where you take it place. So it's quite easy. Only thing is that you have to keep on updating yourself. What are the current agency trends like? Suppose if you go with this right now, there will be few changes you would like to do. You may not go for this gradient or you may not go for this gradient or these kind of things. You make it flat. Because if you see your new upcoming Windows 8 or your flat mobile Jellybean, which is the lollipop, yeah, it's all flat, right? They don't have any no gradients, something. It's flat color, flat fonts. So those are the trends we keep on updating ourselves and aligning to that. Sometimes clients are very stubborn on, okay, I want this gradient. you have to say that no, gradient is normal. Don't use gradient because it's just gonna make your website look 10 years old. Right? Example. So when we talk about fonts, okay, there are a few limitations what we face in terms of fonts. There are 3 types of fonts, which are website fonts, then special font types, and fonts for accessibility. Okay. So website fonts are basically fonts which when you install on Windows. Okay, there are a few fonts which automatically gets installed. Those are website fonts. In that also, your Arial, Helvetica, all this kind of a font, Times New Roman, these are safe fonts. Okay. Any red damp the desktop is gonna have those fonts. So even if suppose if you use a fancy font, okay, and if my machine doesn't have it, whatever font you have used, it's just gonna take a random web font and show it to me. So, and if he's changing the font, he's changing the alignment as well along with that. So ultimately it's gonna look bad. So to be on the safer side, we use Arial, Helvetica, these kind of fonts which are easily readable and they are safe. So if you see in all government websites and all, they use Arial just to be on the safer side. Then of course there are like special requirements of clients that no, I want interstate. Like, okay. But when they say that I want interstate, you have to tell them that this is not a website font. If you are using it, you have to code it along with your website, and when you open that website, on the back end, that font automatically gets installed on a temporary basis to your machine, and then it reflects onto your mobile or your desktop. Okay? But in that process, the loading of a website gets little slower. If you see some fancy fonts used website, it will load pretty slowly if you have a decent, though even if you have a decent internet connection, because of that backend activities. And fonts for accessibility is basically, in accessibility I told you, it has to be that the font size has to be big, it has to have enough contrast to read. Those things are very important. Okay. Vector and raster. Vector, it's always safe to use vector because it's gonna use a very little of your loading time, and if you're using an raster graphics, it's gonna take more time because those are images, rasters, so it will take time to load. Brand guidelines we just spoke about. It's very important to understand what brand guidelines has been shared by client. If you don't follow that, no matter how beautiful your design is, people are very strict about your brand guidelines. Suppose if you're working for Citibank, okay, you're designing a portal for them. They have a 120-page fat book of brand guidelines. Every single thing has a brand guidelines. That time, you may not have much of a freedom, okay, to explore. Suppose if you want to say that no, I want a big entire full spread image on top of, I blur that and I'll use some image, then say no, I don't want that. You follow my brand guidelines, then only give it to me. So those are limitations, but we also have to understand those limitations and come up with best possible solution for our client. Yeah. So this was some of the examples. It's like if you see contrast here, it's hardly anything. It's like what is that? You really have to train yourself to understand what is fitting. So make sure that wherever you design, you get enough contrast on top of it. Yeah, this makes colorblind users cry. Okay. If you're colorblind, you won't be able to read it at all. Then, if you're using these two colors as a combination, it's bad, of course. If you use either of them on top of each other, it's not visible. But at the same time, if you use this at least going to be visible. Right? At the same time, if you're using this hover, okay, on hover, if you are, suppose if this is your normal button, and if you hover, it becomes darker a little. It's not going to work because it's hardly anything to be seen. But if your button is like this, and if hover a mouse on top of it, it becomes lighter and the font will also become a little bright. That works because the change can be easily seen. Same here, you have this bar, these bars, but there is no much of a differentiation between, because they fall into the same color family. But if you add a little texture on top of it, it changes. It clearly differentiates both of them. This is again extremely important task. Whenever work comes to you, make sure that estimations are clearly communicated to client. Okay? When you see and work, you will somehow you'll understand that okay, it's gonna take a month now time for me to design it. Client will always negotiate it with it. Like he will say no, give me 2 weeks. Okay? But you have to find back and say that see, even if I give it 2 weeks, it's not any money. Give me time, I work properly, and then I will deliver it to you. So that estimation of time is always very important. Always keep buffer time for your work. If you know that it's going to get completed in 1 month, say that it's going to get completed in 1 month and 1 week. Okay? I need 5 weeks to work on it. Because client is going to come back to you saying that oh, this is not working, change this, and he'll expect everything to be done in one month's time. No, that it doesn't happen like that. So always keep some buffer time when you estimate the time for that. Keep space for feedback, like client feedbacks. That's why I say the buffer time. Always have assumptions such as maybe assumptions can be if there is any image, it has to be procured by client. Any audio, sound, audio, video if you want to use in your website has to be taken by client. According to your business terms. These things may not sound very important right now, but when you actually start working on it on a professional level, they matter a lot. Because client will say that, I want this image. But when you go to Shutterstock and really try to buy that image, it just takes away all your profit out of, because only because of that one image that's possible. So always make your assumption very clear that everything used in our website has to be coming from client.